Hey, hi. We will be doing a book review of 2021. All the books I read, and yeah. So this I did something similar to this in 2021 as well, reviewing 2020 books. So yeah, just kind of like starting a tradition or something like that. And all the books can be found in Goodreads, or you can message me if you want to. Or yeah. So let's start. I started the first book which I finished in January. I actually started in December. It was a memoir by Barack Obama, former president, and it's actually a part one. And this book, I was so much interested in learning and reading about it. I actually bought its copy, and yeah. So this was the book. It details what happened in his presidency, as well as what happened just before his presidency, the challenges, what was his thoughts, and inner workings of him. So yeah, that started my 2021 book reading journey. So yeah, so the second book which I started was Jeffrey Archer's A Wasted Hour. So it's around like 12 short chapters. It was quite good, but it's a short book. But I enjoyed it. It was quite nice. Yeah. So the third book was most of you guys know about this book. This was Annie Frank's diary. This book was particularly interesting for me because it detailed the horror of Holocaust, what was going on back then, and I had read this book's chapter just during my childhood education, so I didn't haven't read yet. So this was quite a good refreshing book as my third book. The fourth book, which was kind of a cliche because I should have read it in my 11th 12th. It was a very simple book. I wanted something lightweight reading after reading Annie Frank Diary, so that's why I decided. The fourth book was Veronica. What? Yeah, Veronica Decides to Die. Quite a nice book. I finished it with like couple of days because it was way too light book, like time pass book. But yeah, it was quite good thrilling history. But given right now, I wouldn't recommend anyone who, if you want to do a serious reading this book. But if you are starting though, this is a good book for you to start reading because it's quite simple. The passages just flow with each other, and you don't have to use all of your memory power or anything like that. So quite a nice lightweight reading. After that, after that, yeah, after that I had read one of the book which apparently I didn't know that many people like this much, because when I was sharing snippets of it on my stories, people were quite interested. Was Pride and Prejudice. This was recommended to my dear friend, and I can't thank her enough. This book was so good. I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with how it was narrated, and the entire story was quite great for me. After that, I read one of the books which is quite good, considered as a classic. It was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. It's quite nice, and this book was especially a little bit tough for me. Like the way I was reading, as well as the intent to grasp, was quite kind of, I should say it was tough because while I was reading, I was grasping the intent, but I couldn't make myself read more than few pages or few chapters at a time. The book was quite good though, but yeah, I found it a little bit of challenging and a little bit of tough. Moving forward, I read. Again wanted to go a little bit lightweight, so I read The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Quite nice book. Some of the stories were made to television, some of them were not. So yeah, it was a quite a good light reading. After that, I read Alibaba, The House That Jack Ma Built. It kind of details the story how Jack Ma built his entire business empire, how he did business, the negotiations, and the like. That was also quite a refreshing and promising book. And this book made me think of all the negotiations and all the Alibaba business, how it built. Especially, this book kind of gave me an insight about how Alibaba made its fortune in China, and how Chinese businesses as well as Chinese culture reflected that approach. So yeah, this was a quiet book, a little bit on business side, a little bit on like learning side, but yeah, nonetheless it was quite good. So moving forward, now I started a series of stories, a series of something like a bridge between the light read and serious reading. So although the books which I'm going to mention doesn't have any particular learning approach, these are just stories in between, but they are quite a good read. So I would urge everyone to read the books which I'm mentioning right now. So yeah, so then I led Lisa, sorry, let me correct, Lisa Jackson's Distrust. Now this book, while I was looking at a cover in my library, looks way too promising. The cover was good, the back summary was good, but it was not that good while I was reading. Good for lightweight reading, but I expected more. Then I went to this author's Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club. I so much liked the book. So the reason I liked this book was you have central story going on in the book, but which is motive of the book. The Thursday Murder Club means you can guess what it means. But then these individual characters have in small story going in their bubbles. So it was quite refreshing to learn about that, and I like this author's approach so much that I will be mostly reading one more book from this author in the 2022 as well. Moving forward, this book was quite nice. Say No More, again in that same area. Uh, this book, although looked promising, it was not that good, but it wasn't that bad compared to the earlier Distrust. So better than Distrust, but overall it did disappoint me as well. Moving forward, again in this series, I read Tana French, The Searcher. It was one of the highly rated book in 2021, which came in 2021. Good book. I especially like the climax, and this book I didn't expect that much, but it proved a very good return. So, quite a time, well worth the time reading. Now after this, because I was frequenting library in my in the town which I live in, Syracuse, I began to read some graphic novels. So I began to read some comic books. I've also reread some of the novels which I have, some of the Percy Jackson novels, but in a graphical format. So yeah, after this book, I read Batman. What if Batman Dies series? Quite a good volume. Uh, Very nice concept about revising Batman, and I like that arc. Moving forward, I tried the not Justice League, sorry. I tried Avengers Rogue arc as well in the graphic novel series. I didn't like it. Maybe it's not my taste how those that arc was played, but yeah, that was my. Moving forward, Sean McGuire's A Killing Frost. Now, I haven't read Fae stories that much, so it was like kind of foray into that kind of genre. The writing was good, the book was good, but again, this book also comes under the similar thing about not my taste. Great book, but I would not personally go into this genre more. Going forward, I again started a little bit of learning books because it was too much of story. So just one thing, I read about the Doctors Blackwell. These two were the first two female doctors who kind of like reignited the art of medicine or the science of medicine in the United States. And it was particularly good because I could see from the lens of history about how discriminated it was and how much it took to create the art of doctor itself. Because mind you, just a simple segue, but that nurse nursing field was quite popular in females, but a female doctor, a lady doctor, was not that respected in the olden times, and so it was a very different insight as to how they managed to do what they did. Moving forward, again I went to in the story and like slowly was Louis Penny's Are the Devils Here. Again, a brilliant book. I expected say 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, but it actually exceeded my expectations. And so seriously, quite a brilliant book. I urge everyone to read it as well. Then I went. So this was the time during my birthday as well as just uh, United States withdrew their troops from Afghanistan. So I just wanted to see how, like, I wanted to get a little bit of insight about Afghanistan, and I had already read Khalid Hosani's novel, so I wanted to go a different, some different direction, but in a similar storyline. So I read Dancing in the Mosque. Again, brilliant, and some of the incidents narrated, I actually got touched, and I was like, why it's happening? So yeah, it was quite humbling and made me realize that how privileged I'm living. So yeah, moving forward, now it's a, so after this, what I started was revisiting the previous books. So the first book obviously I visited was Harry Potter's The Philosopher's Stone. Rereading it, I actually finished it like couple of days, but rereading it, it was quite brilliant, and especially 20th anniversary coming up. Yeah, so it was quite brilliant reading Harry Potter once again. uh, as I started my book, as I started my kind of like just a second. Yep. So as I started my uh, year in political, I wanted to give political one more chance, because I like reading about politics. So I read Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi's book. This was a good understanding of how the speaker operates, and because she was the first female speaker in the United States House of Representatives, it was quite a great book, and it helped more that this book is not written by her. This book is written about her by a third person, so we could get the entire insights. Although her quotes was there, but it was quite a good book. Moving forward, I gave it one more try to a one different graphic novel. So just a second. Yeah, so I gave one more chance to graphic novels known as Brighton and Bruittley. So again, it was proper comic book, but again, I didn't like that style, or maybe in general, I don't like the taste of that graphic novels. Maybe I'm enjoying the graphic novels of certain books because I already have read their normal books. So moving forward, so I read three of the Percy Jackson's books. I had read almost all the Percy Jackson, like the two series, but this time I went for graphic novels. So the first I read The Lost Hero, the second The Lightning Thief, as well as I read The Son of Neptune. I wanted to read The Mark of Athena and or The House of Hades, but these two books were at that time of reading were not in a graphical novel format. So yeah, moving forward, then I read one kind of like Chick-fil-A type. I shouldn't say that, but not to degrade anyone and everything, but yeah, it was way to read. It was not Chick-fil-A, so let me correct that. It was YA novel, seeing You Say It First. Quite a nice rom-com novel, and I liked it, but then it was a little bit childish. But I wanted something light after a little bit heavy reading. So again, I just finished the Percy Jackson era by rereading The Sea of Monsters, and then I went to a little bit high reading. So this book, A Gentleman in Moscow, I started two times earlier but couldn't finish. This time I started and finished. Quite a brilliant book. The author is quite great. It's one of the brilliant rated, as well as this was in the Bill Gates 2020 summer reading list. That's why I wanted to read it. But yeah, it took a little bit of time. Great novel, great concept, more about Russia and everything. But yeah, great book. Going forward, I completed one more rereading of Harry Potter's second book, and then went to James Patterson book to just end the year. I started the Black Book series, so I read one first novel, The Black Book, and second novel, The Red Book. So yeah, in total this was my 30 books, and maybe I have spoken too fast or too slow, but yeah, let me know what you felt, and I am have set a target of 40 books of for 2020. I hope I finish it and make one more video like this in 2023. Bye.